What a great day this is. We have Stephanie Thomas here, who's a disability fashion expert. She was also a SAG-AFTRA actor and voiceover actor for 21 years. She is a fashion styling expert, and for 26 years she has researched retail trends exclusively for people with disabilities. So she's making great headway for all of us. So it's very exciting for everyone here to connect, because I know that those of you who show up for these events are the movers and shakers, and we know how to look good, right? We gotta know how to look good. She's gotta show us. Okay, she's got a wonderful panel. She is now our go-to stylist in Hollywood for actors and influencers with disabilities. And she is a thought leader on television discussing disability through the lens of dress management. And she's a host of the new podcast, 26 and Counting, which refers to the number of years she's followed the adaptive fashion sector. Please welcome Stephanie Thomas.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm just really excited to see everyone here. I want to just say the way this will work best and the way that you can get the most value out of this is when I say something that may spark a thought or an idea. If you get a chance, type it in your phone or even do an audio note or some type of jot it down, because then we can address that in the Q&A, and I don't want you to forget it. I teach, so Ellen's going to make sure that I don't go long. And she's going to make sure that I stay on time, and in order to do that, I won't be able to address individual questions. First of all, I want to say thank you to SAG-AFTRA for seeing the value in this topic, because I know sometimes when people think of fashion, they think of something that's beyond everyday people, but when it comes to dress management and communicating who you are through clothing, it's something that we all do. It's not something that should feel intimidating or something that should be beyond anyone's scope of achievement, because we're all great at being who we are. No one can be you better than you. So communicating that effectively through your clothing just takes some time, and it takes some, a few steps. So this will not be exhaustive by any mean, but hopefully it will get you thinking, it will get the conversation started. And of course, when we do post this, and I will give my information, so if you guys want to, hit me up via email or anything like that, I do offer a free 20-minute consultations. We can just chat. If I can help in any way, I'm very happy to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. What to wear? Stand out and book the job. All right, so why me? Why should you listen to me? You had a brief, idea of my history, but I can tell you this. This picture is from 1992. This is the moment at which I took the red pill. You remember the Matrix? Blue pill, red pill. I took the red pill and I entered the world of clothing for people with disabilities. And I have not been able to leave it since. And if you don't know my reference, the blue pill meant you go to sleep, you don't remember anything. The red pill is you enter into this like wormhole and you can no longer see life the same. And so as I continue down this hole with you, I want to warn you that what you hear, and as we start this conversation, you won't be able to unsee or unhear what I'm about to share with you. And you'll never look at clothing for pets the same again. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so I was born a congenital amputee. Most people don't know that. I love when people look at me and like, why is she talking about clothing for people? Who is she? And blah, 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 blah. So I was born in 1969, and in 1968, there was a birth control pill that when women took it, a lot of their children that were born with birth differences. Some had shorter arms, different things. Well, for me, I was born without toes. And so what that does for me when it comes to dressing is it makes it very difficult for me to find shoes that are accessible, smart, fashionable. I'll get into that a bit later. And what I mean by that is wearing shoes that allow me to communicate style the way that I'd like, but at the same time remain safe for my body and for me to ambulate independently. 26 years following the trends, we've already hit that. Why am I doing this? I'm committed to empowering people because I cannot stand having to go to a meeting and sit at the meeting and tug and wonder. You can't even network. You know, when I'm nervous or I don't wear something I'm comfortable in, you can usually find me near the food. So if you ever see me at an event, because I figure sitting near the food or standing near the food is the easiest way for me to take the attention off of me and find an easy way to communicate. So if you ever see me at an event and I'm standing around the food, you'll know what the deal is. And I'm also committed to educating, which is why I'm here today, to take the stigma and to demystify clothing and getting dressed and what does all this mean, especially in the days of Instagram. You know, we do it for the gram. We do it for the gram. All right, so my disability fashion styling system, I was honored. Canada invited me to share my TEDx talk, and it was all about what I'm sharing with you right now and the importance of dressing with disabilities. And so, as a surprise, at the end of my TEDx talk, I was able to take clothing that I found in the stores and dress the participants that modeled for me during the talk. And how did I do that? I did that with my disability fashion styling system. And I can tell you this disability fashion styling system came into play after, in 2003, several mainstream designers who I will not name because I'm just that kind of person, did me a favor by not allowing me to continue our conversations. They would fly me out to meet their head designers, and I'm like, have you ever designed for people with disabilities? Have you ever thought about universal design? They were like, oh yeah, you're so wonderful. They pat me on the head, send me home, and never take my calls again. And as a result, I came up with a way that I can personally empower people with disabilities. And it's called the Disability Fashion Styling System. And the first portion is accessible. These are questions you can ask yourself when you're shopping or getting dressed. Is it easy to put on and take off? That should be the bottom line. Is it easy for you to put on and take off? Not, it's going to vary among all of us. The second is it medically safe? Is it going to cause harm to your body? And because I work as a styling expert, literally styling people here in LA all the time, it's so easy when you have an event and you're like, it's just that zipper in the back if you're a wheelchair user, and you're like, oh, it's just that zipper. I'm not gonna have it on that long, but that could literally cause harm to your body in one way or another. And so we always wanna compromise ourselves in order to look the way we think we should look. So it has to be medically safe. And finally, it should be fashionable. It should work with your body type, it should work with your lifestyle, and you should absolutely love it. This is a question I always hear. Hey, Stephanie, guess what? I'm going to this, I'm going to that. What should I wear? And then I'm like, oh, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And they're like, no, seriously, what should I wear? Like, that's the next big thing that we talk about. So before we talk about what to wear specifically, let's talk about measurements. By show of hands, when is the last time you've met with your tailor and you have your measurements? Don't everyone raise your hand at once. You have recently? When was the last time? Yes, can I give some for Steve? Yes, a couple of months ago. That's really great. So how often should you get your measurements? Does anyone have an idea? Once in a lifetime, definitely. Definitely once in a lifetime. I would say every 6 to 12 months. And why is that? Why do you think you should get your measurements that often? Yeah, and if you're like, I can't even stand to go into a dressing room and you want me to know my measurements? Am I hitting on anyone's nerves? And here's why it matters. When it comes to style, it's really all about fit, right? And you don't know how to empower yourself, and I'm gonna talk a little bit later about how to empower people on set that are dressing you. If you can't self-advocate if you don't know your measurements. So for all of you that have forgotten about your measurements and forgotten about tailors, they'll be really happy to see you. They can put it down for you, get those measurements done, and that's your first step. You can't dress a body that you don't know, and you can't assume, especially for men. And a lot of men that I work with that also happen to be have seated body types and may use wheelchairs, or you don't know your neck size. So I'll say, okay, what's your neck size? It's around 16, maybe 17. And they don't know because they haven't measured it lately. And here in LA, button downs are not something we wear on a regular basis, at least not for me. But then when I'm trying to get guys in suits and trying to get them ready for events, we have to start with knowing our neck measurements. And if you're a person with a seated body type and you're not sure about measurements, don't expect the tailor to know. As a matter of fact, one of the references that I'll make sure I share with Ellen is to make sure we put a video up of how to effectively measure a seated body type, because I think some of the issues are pretty consistent and people don't know. So don't be disappointed if you go in and they don't. And for all body types, get those measurements. So let's move on. Our closets. All right, question number 2. Your closet. When is the last time you've done a closet audit, gone through that closet and said, go away, stay, go away, give away, go away? Anyone? See, Steve is leading the pack here. Can I get some numbers? When is the last time you guys have cleaned out? You can just shout out. 6 months. 3 months. Anyone else? 3 months. Do you change seasonally? Yeah. And does anyone keep things in their closet that they know that they should get rid of? Why do you keep them there? Can I just ask? Yes.
I can tell you why I do. Because I had this dress when I was in my 20s, and then I threw it in my closet, and then I pulled it out this year.
Because it's back in. It's great again. Any other reasons why you keep things in your closet? Yes.
Well, actually, because I do sketches.
Oh, it's good to have a closet. Okay, so I'm not talking about that part of your closet. Not the part of your closet that you have to use for work, but the part of your closet that looks like this. Do you ever hear yourself say, I have nothing to wear? Yes. I have nothing to wear. Oh my gosh, what am I going to wear? Well, it helps to clean it. I'm not being funny. I have to take my own medicine. If you don't clean your closet, you don't know what you have. And then you don't know what you need. And if I can just give you a suggestion, like I said, this is not exhaustive, but when you go to the store, if you go to the store without knowing exactly what's in your closet and what you need, if you're anything like me or most people, what are you gonna buy? What's on sale? And you're probably gonna wind up buying the same thing over and over again. Do you ever do that? You wind up buying the same thing and then you go, I don't have this other thing. Well, that's because every time you go out, you wind up buying the exact same thing you previously purchased. So the way to get around that, especially for you, you're going to be out in front of people, you're going to be going to events, you're going to be doing things, you want to make sure that you maximize every penny that you spend. So let's get back to my favorite tailors. When should you go to a tailor? Does anyone know? Now you know what you have in your closet. When should you go to a tailor to get things altered? As soon as you buy it, if you already know it's like not going to fit perfectly. But when else should you go? What is that determining factor? Does anyone know? Let me give you a hint. If you spend $20 on it, I probably wouldn't go to the tailor, because that's not going to be a good, use of your money. If it's something that you're spending a bit more on, that's when you invest in going to the tailor. And I hear this all the time. Stephanie, clothing for people with disabilities. Come on, man. We don't even have the budget for this assistive technology, this medication, this, and the list goes on and on and on. But it's not necessarily what you have, it's what you prioritize. How many times have you purchased coffee or food outside of your home after you've gone to the grocery store? Have you gone to the grocery store and then you're just like, oh, hey, let's go to dinner. Okay. So instead of inviting people over to cook the food that you just purchased, you go to eat out on a regular basis, and then that's money that you could have then spent to go to the tailor. So going to the tailor is great. Going to the tailor at a cleaner, literally find a tailor that can be your partner in crime. So they know your body, they know your measurements, they know how things fit you. You will feel like a superhero, because then whenever you have to go somewhere, someone already understands your body type. And that is half the battle. Don't expect people in the stores to understand. Be patient. Don't expect them to understand. Know your own measurements. Have a tailor as your partner. Is this helping anyone so far to help you think? Not yet? Okay. Yes. Where do you find a tailor? I try to Google tailors in your area. Put in your code, your zip code, and then find someone in your area. No, not at the cleaners because they're doing other things. You want to find, like, I go to Taylortown. It's in Glendale, and that's all they do. Find a tailor where that's all they do because they're going to take the time with you. They're not going to be rushing you out because they've got other people, and then it's not going to be a thing where it's like, okay, I don't have room to really, let you step up and try. Yes. Very good question. So the average cost of a tailor is going to be, for like a hem, it may be $10. It depends on what it is. If you get something with a lining, I can honestly tell you that's going to cost a little bit more, but that's why you build relationships. Because a relationship, and you guys know this as actors, a relationship can take you a lot further. Because sometimes my tailor doesn't even charge me because she knows I'm going to come back and she knows I'm going to bring other people. So I would build that relationship, and the way you do it is you self-advocate. This is my budget. This is what I need to do. Let's work together to figure out how to make this happen. I have a lot of things in my closet that I want to fit properly, and this is what I'm able to do. What can you do for this? And you'll be surprised what people can do. Most of the time, no one ever asks. People want return customers. I would just literally go online and then put tailor, and then I actually, when I Google it, I just try to find the closest one, and then I read all the reviews. Yeah. Yep, exactly. Let's talk budget. Plan, shop, sales. So right now, what should you be buying if you're going to buy anything? Anything that was popular in the summer. This is when I build my wardrobe for summer. Because right now, guess what's on sale? Yeah. Everything that's in the store right now that's brand spanking new that have the high prices, I always buy at the end of season. You guys remember that. Those aren't new tips. Those aren't tips I'm inventing. But when it comes to adaptive clothing, it gets expensive. When it comes to clothing that's designed with specific adaptations, it's expensive. Do you guys buy adaptive clothing? Anyone in here purchase it? Do you know brands? Okay, so that's another thing that I'll put, because I think it's easier if I just list it and you can click on it and then you can go and look yourself. There are a lot of stores that are now selling adaptive brands. I know Tommy Hilfiger, Tommy Adaptive is a complete line. And if you're like, well, that's not really my style, they have a lot of basics. So they have magnetic zippers, they have clothing that's good for AFOs, they have clothing for people that are little people, they have clothing that's great for people that cannot get in and out of, this is called an inset sleeve. A drop sleeve gives you more room to get in and out of, or a dome-in sleeve gives you more room. So I can put that list as a part of our resources, and then that way you can look at it at your own leisure. Also, Zappos Adaptive is starting to sell a lot of clothing, and they're bringing on brands every day, so that'll help. When do you compromise? I would say if you are someone that needs clothing that's adaptive for you, honestly, what I suggest to my clients is make sure that you spend the money on the adaptive clothing, because that's the thing you need first. And then you can always find a tee or something or a shirt to match it. How do you pull in trends into your look? You can pull in trends with your look with accessories, with sunglasses, with your tie colors. Different things like that can pull in trends, but don't blow your whole budget on a trend. Does that make sense, guys? I'm going to take that as a yes. So don't blow your whole budget on trends. So adaptive brands, I said I will make sure that I go ahead and share those online so that you can click on them. And there are adaptive brands for skin sensitivity and sensory issues. When you're going to network, this image is just a general image. And the only reason I'm suggesting this is to make it your own. I see a lot of you here in button downs, and a lot of you already look great. The issue that you may experience is sometimes when things aren't cut for your body type, that's where that tailor comes in. And that's where that makes amazing difference, because it'll make it look like it's made just for you. It'll make it look like it's more bespoke. So many of you seem to already have on things that would work for your body. But when you're thinking of business, casual, and networking, make it your own, but look to basics and then put your own spin with it, your own spin on it with your tie or with your shoe. Like today, I can't stand up here in heels and do this. I usually don't teach in heels. So I have on an Adidas brand that I love, but I also have on something that made it a shoe that I don't have to deal with laces. So I turned a laced shoe into a shoe that is actually a slip-on by having something that removes the need for laces. And you can find elastic shoelaces. Have you guys ever heard of that? You can find elastic shoelaces and things like that right online, and it can turn that shoe that you struggle with to lace into something very easy to get in and out of. Now, business casual for women. This gets tricky because men can wear the same pant and change the shirt, and it's good to go. Women, especially women on the gram, women on Instagram, you're like, well, I can't wear that. I just wore that on Instagram. I just took a picture in that. And men deal with that too. And here's the thing that I hope we talk about and discuss a bit more is we talk about angles. Because you can do a picture on the gram in the same look, but from a different angle, it will give it like it will look like a different picture. And women, when you get those measurements and you learn your measurements, don't try to dress a body you had 20 years ago or a body that you want. Dress the body that you have today, please. It will take a lot of stress off of you if you dress the body that you have. There's nothing wrong with being curvy or having curves or being different from someone else. Maybe you have a body type that tends to be more full and maybe protrudes in the lower abdomen just because of your particular body type. You may have a body type where a short torso and longer legs or vice versa. Dress your body. Love it, dress it, and then when you're networking and you're in front of people, you can be present. You won't be worrying about what you look like. And when you dress and you feel comfortable, you can also make sure that when people are paying attention to you, they're not paying attention to your assistive technology. They're not paying attention to the thing that makes you different, but the thing that makes you confident. And that's what you're going to be sharing with them. I find that people are very apprehensive with self-advocating on set. If you have some type of sensory issues with clothing, or if something doesn't fit you well, they're like, well, I don't really want to say anything because I really don't want to, kind of rock the boat. Self-advocate, please, because these stylists do not know how to always dress your body. And when people deal with people with disabilities, they generally deal with us from one of three models: medical model of disability, social model of disability, or even this is the moral model of disability. And you guys know that this is the right thing to do. Or it's medical, it's totally medical. I come from the social model where we're all equal. We all want to get out here. We all want to have livable wages, work, and do what we need to do and do what we love to do. So understand that when you're dealing with people, they may not deal with you from a social model of disability. They may not see that. They may be kind of timid. Oh, I don't want to hurt. Self-advocate. Here are my measurements. This is my body type. This is what works well for me. And don't even be afraid to bring a few things with you. Even if they say, oh, no, you don't have to bring anything. Okay. Don't be afraid to bring a few things with you. Once you find that thing that works for your body, bring it with you. Show them. Help them. I guarantee that they will appreciate it. Because they'll say, oh, my gosh, thank you. Thank you. And then you can say, this is where I normally go to get things. This is blah, 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 blah. If you need something altered because you're all going to have new tailors, hey, maybe my tailor can help out. You won't be footing the bill for that, but you just may be surprised with what you helping them will do for you. There is no wrong way to be you. And this is where I'd like to end. Like I said, you're going to get the most value from this from your specific questions. So keep those in mind if you have them towards the end. There is no wrong way to express yourself. The reason why I thought that this was valuable is because some of the people we're going to talk to here today, I've had an opportunity to work with them. I've had an opportunity to sit with people all over the world and talk to them about this topic. When I was in Paris a year ago, and they're like, what is it? You know, how is technology moving the idea of disability forward? What's happening in fashion for people with disabilities? And what they mean by that is accessible clothing, clothing that works for many different body types, not just clothing for one type of person versus another. And if you don't like the term disability and you hate me saying it over and over again, I must say we do get to all self-identify. So as a person born as a congenital amputee, it's a word that I'm not bothered by. I don't apologize for it, and I think it's my normal, so that's why I use it. So make sure that when you're thinking of dressing yourself, it's not makeup and trying to be someone else. It's just bringing out the best version of yourself. 95, well, they usually say 75 to 95% of nonverbal communication is nonverbal communication. When people meet you, they're gonna have a judgment of you right away. If I would have come in here dressed, I don't know, differently, does it add or take away from my credibility? What do you think? Being honest. Yeah, you can dress in a way that takes away. If you don't like what I'm wearing, then it's going to take away from my credibility. If you like what I'm wearing, it's going to, add to my credibility. We can't change other people's perceptions, but what we can do is we can use dress management to our own advantage. We can make sure that when we go in the room, that we are empowered, we understand our bodies. The more you understand it, the more you love it. The more you love it, the more that exudes from you. And the more confidence you have, the more likely you are to book the job. So let's get this panel up here, and let's get this conversation started. Joining me, I'm just going to need a program so I can make sure that I do this in a way that honors my panel members, that let them go ahead and get set up. You guys can come here. No, just jump on in. We're going to start down at the end. We have Tatiana Lee. Tatiana is an actor here in LA, and Tatiana is the voice behind AccessibleHollywood.com. So, and Tati, full disclosure, is also one of my clients. So I shop with her and I work with her and help her express herself through her clothing. We have Katy Sullivan, who's also sitting right there next to Tati, and everyone knows that. I don't know why I said that, but Katy is an actress, producer, athlete, and bilateral above-the-knee amputee, and also a great friend, and also someone that I have an opportunity to shop with and have these discussions about fashion. And today I had the pleasure of meeting Mark Povinelli. Did I pronounce that correctly? Awesome. And Mark has starred in films such as Mirror, Mirror, Water for Elephants, and Hot Flashes. So guys, let's just have a conversation. Can we talk? Can we just talk? Because I know sometimes people, Tati, can you turn just a little bit so I can see you? Okay, because I like conversations. One of the things that, first of all, thank you guys for joining me. I just want to hear your thoughts about things that I've shared today, and if it sparked any thoughts or ideas for you. Let's start with you, Mark.
Wow, yeah, a lot of things came up. Some of the more practical things that brought to mind was about once you book a job and being on a set. And that is one of the most challenging aspects of feeling good about the way you look, because there's such a finite amount of time, usually. Yep. Usually, especially with the roles that come along on episodic television, they have hours or maybe days to dress you. And this is something that, when you went into the audition, you probably had planned on what you were wearing for weeks, let alone hours. And they just don't have the time to dress you the way that you feel good about getting in front of a camera, besides the fact that you're doing all the stuff about what my character is. So I think that the information you gave is so valuable that you need to have your measurements. You need to already have them ready to go and have them be accurate. you need to have to bring in your own ideas, even if they don't necessarily fit their style of what they were thinking, and ultimately, you know, that's very important to them. It gives them an understanding of what shapes fit you. And, you know, I can't tell you how many times I have told costumers where I get my clothes, and I shop usually in the children's section, and inevitably they come back with shirts that are just huge, and then they think they can stitch them together and cut them, and then I never feel good about it. But if I bring my own clothes with me, it makes a big difference too. And then also advocating. It took me a long time to not just accept whatever they gave me on set, and instead to go, you know, if I'm going to give the performance that you hired me to give, I have to feel good about it, and therefore I'm going to demand, in the nicest way possible, that this works and this doesn't, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's you know, they paid you to do a job, and you have to do it the best you can. It's your one shot. Don't let somebody else dictate how you feel about yourself.
I love that. Katy.
I think for me, is this on? Hello. I honestly, obviously, Stephanie and I are good friends, and she has helped me through many, many times where I think she based that on me, on like, what am I gonna wear? No, seriously, what am I gonna wear? I think that was a direct conversation that we've had like 47 times. But I think that it's what she has helped me learn are the cuts and the materials that look good on me. I have different needs and considerations than a person who has a seated body type or someone who's a little person. For me, it's more about like, how is the trim line of my socket going to appear in a pencil skirt or something like that? So, and many of those things can be changed with the fabrics that you decide to use, and starting to know those things and learn those things. And for me, more than anything else, a tailor, yes, is very important, but I have a shoe person.
Yes. We got some interesting news about the shoe person.
I know. But here's the thing. I have, there's a company that I'm just devastated. I have just barely gotten out of the fetal position about them taking a break because it was a place where you could design your own shoes online. And which was not super, they weren't super expensive, but if you were somebody who would like, you know, for me, it was more about seeing a certain type of shoe over and over again, and then looking at like, I'm never going to be able to wear that. Just physically, it's not going to ever work for me. I could take the idea of that shoe and then design it myself in a way that it was wearable and fashionable. But I also have, in the same way that there's tailors all over the world, there are cobblers. Yep. So I have somebody that I know, I trust. They know exactly who I am and what I need. I walk in there and she's like, have you not been shopping recently? I haven't seen you in a while, you know? So, and that really is the consideration of for me, it's more about the soling of the shoe that I need to be changed. So, but it took me going to some different places and kind of trying it out and failing a little bit and getting something back that was exactly the same as I brought it to them and feeling kind of bummed out. But then when you find that person, like Stephanie said, you build a relationship with them, and you can I send other people to drop shoes off for me because she knows exactly what I need. I don't need to hold her hand anymore.
And before Tati jumps in, I want to just piggyback on something that Katy said. The part that most people hate about shopping is trying things on. Hate it. How am I going to find, but how are you going to find what you need if you don't try it on? And make sure when you do go to try it on, you're wearing the proper undergarments. Whatever that is for you, make sure you're wearing what you need to wear so that you'll know. And take shoes, make plans. It is a whole thing. It's a process. Some days will be better than others. Give yourself time to have a moment, because if you're anything like most of us, it could be really frustrating. And there may be a moment where I just got to get away from this for a while. Okay. Tati.
I would just say one of the biggest takeaways that I took from this, and something that I've learned from Stephanie doing, like, you know, my style journey, is just being able to express my style more. I grew up, you know, I was born with spina bifida, and so I grew up with a family that they just wanted to cover me over because you know, pants wouldn't fit me right, so it was like just throw on bulky jeans and a big top, and I wore AFOs, so I had to wear big sneakers, and so I never felt comfortable, and I never thought I would be that girl that would be able to wear the mini skirt or, you know, the mini dress and stuff. So just being able to do that, and I found out that, you know, wrap dresses or something are more adapted to my body because I'm curvy. So that's one thing. And another point that you made about tailoring and stuff like that, for my ladies, one thing that has done magic for me is when Stephanie took me to go get fitted for a bra. That is very important too. That changed the game completely. So for my ladies, you guys don't have to deal with this, but also get your measurements for your bra. It really makes a difference.
It creates your waistline. So if you're wondering, where has my waistline gone? If your posture is not, if you're not able to hold your posture straight for whatever reason, don't fret. Get that right bra, and that actually creates that smallest part of your waist for you. Now, I wanted to find out, do you feel like any of this matters in your career? Like, I could just be, you know, does any of this matter to you? Does it make a difference? Have you seen a difference in it?
I will say I have seen a difference. I've been doing a lot of auditioning lately, and now when I go into the room with the casting directors, they are complimenting me on what I'm wearing. I actually ended up having a conversation with the casting director one day because she liked my sneakers. I was casual, but I dressed up my casual look, and we had this whole conversation about sneakers. So it's like they're noticing you and who you are, opposed to, like you said, your assistive device. And it actually does help. From one instance, I remember I was doing a self-tape, and I called Stephanie, I was telling her about it, and she's like, well, what are you wearing? I was like, I don't know, I'm just throwing on a shirt and just gonna do the audition tape. And she's like, no, what's the character? You gotta break it down. What would that character be wearing? And I'm just like, okay, Stephanie. So I did all that, put on a completely different outfit, did my audition tape. I ended up booking it. So it does make a difference. So I will say that.
That conversation wasn't fun, but we got through it. Because you know, when you're self-taping, you want to get it going, you want to get it done, you just want to move on, and you already have the anxiety from taping. So I'm sure Tati was probably like, oh my gosh, why did I call her? Mistake. But yeah, it worked out. What about you?
I think for more than anything, knowing what makes you feel comfortable, like Mark said, we're all there to do the job of acting. Like, that's the point of this whole thing. So if all of the other stuff can go away, if you're not standing up there thinking, God, why did I wear this shirt? It's, you know, I look fat in it, or I'm unhappy in it, or whatever. That is taking away from your ability to just really focus on the job at hand. So all of these things help you begin to prepare to feel confident, feel comfortable, walk in there expressing yourself in some way. They get a glimpse of who you are. And sometimes there needs to be a little nod to if there's a specific character or something like that, you know, a cop or something. And I don't know if any of us would go in to play a cop, but anyway, maybe a desk cop. But you know, you can nod to that, but do it in a way that makes you feel comfortable. I'm not a big fan of going to an audition in like a costume, personally. I want to bring myself into the room because that's who they're going to get to know on set, ultimately. But making sure you've set yourself up to feel comfortable in what you're wearing lets you show up and do your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Just everything you said, that it matters. Your self-confidence, when you break through, when you walk into that room and you feel good about the way you look, it signals to them that you're a professional, you're ready, you're here, and you're ready to do your work. I think I will say though that, and I'm not saying I figured this out, but there's something to finding your style and sticking with it. Also, I have friends that, you know, they wear basically the same thing in every red carpet or every event that they're at. It may be a different color, but it's the same style. And sometimes I'm very jealous of that because they've established their look and they've got it down and they know what it is and they feel comfortable in it. And I'm sitting there every time going, God, what am I going to wear this time? And is it this way or that way? Well, if you kind of know what your style is, you can just stick to that and go with it. And there's something to be said. And I don't know, you probably can speak to what's the right needle
The
threading
balance?
for that. Yeah.
Well, I think the balance in that for men and women are going to be a little bit different. Like I said, for men, a dark suit, changing that tie, changing what you're wearing with it, the type of button down you're wearing with it. And if you can't do buttons, they have great magnetic closure button downs from like Van Heusen, from Magna Ready, from all of these different brands. Like I said, I'll put the links because I think that's going to be most useful to you. But there are ways around it. And I do think finding your style aesthetic and sticking to it is great. And you're going to find that you're more comfortable and more confident in dressing. And for women, you can find those silhouettes that work for you. And what I mean by silhouette is, for me, I have a short torso and long legs. So there are certain things that are just going to make me look like it's going to change my body shape. So if I wear what's known as a midi skirt, meaning a skirt that hits right in the middle of my leg, then that's going to change my body. And it's not going to bring people's eyes up. It's going to bring me down, if that makes sense. So understanding that. Well, you guys have been really great. I hope this helped in some way, shape, or form. I hope the whole goal was to get you, and I feel like I can't see everyone. The whole goal was to get you thinking about things and ways that you can kind of question. And don't be afraid to have these conversations among yourselves, because the reason that I say expert is because I'm smart enough to know how to listen. I don't learn more about this from reading books. I work with people, I listen, I get great hacks from them, I share things. I understand that you learn more from listening than speaking. So if you have any other questions, and when we do the review, I will be sending Ellen all of the resources that we talked about today. And then if you have any other questions for me, you're like, well, you didn't talk about this, just let me know. I'm happy to look into it for you. I'm very happy to do that. We really appreciate your time. Panel, you've been wonderful.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you so much.